Hey guys, it's Amber and I'm back. I've been gone for a little while. The reason is because we had our baby. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of give you guys the the quick version of the birth story and what happened. So basically, at my 36-week scan, I went in and had an ultrasound done, and at my 32-week scan they were saying that the baby's arms were measuring short. The long bones in the arms and legs were measuring short. So I went back in on 36 weeks for another ultrasound, and they were saying that the baby was extremely small, not growing, that possibly my placenta wasn't supporting the baby anymore, and that we needed to be induced. So this was 36 weeks. On a Friday, and so she said that I could go to term, and I was thinking, oh, 40 weeks. Well, term for them is 37 weeks. So 37 weeks was going to be that Monday. So we found out on a Friday that we were going to be having our baby or being induced on a Monday. So that weekend, this was the weekend before she was born on June 15th. So the weekend before that, I went crazy, like finishing all my prep. Luckily I had all my bags packed, just trying to get everything lined out for the induction. So we went in on Monday night at 9 o'clock for me to be induced, and I had, if you guys didn't know, I was planning on doing hypnobabies, having a natural birth, you know, all that jazz. So this was not part of the plan, of course. None of this pregnancy was normal. Nothing was normal with any of this. So anyway, she's making noise over there, so I'm trying to talk quiet. So anyway, we went in at 9 o'clock on Monday night, and they gave me Cervidil, which I think is what it's called, to help soften the cervix. So when I got there, I was not dilated at all, which I didn't think I would be. So they gave me the Cervidil. That was in for 12 hours. It came out. I was still not dilated, but my cervix had thinned a bit. So after the Cervidil, and I'm going to give this a pretty quick rundown of what happened because it was a very long labor. So I had the Cervidil in for 12 hours. They took that out. It thinned my cervix a tiny bit. So then I decided that I wanted to do the Foley bulb catheter thing. And so what that is a catheter they put into your cervix, and on the one end there's a bulb. They fill it with water or some kind of solution, and then the idea is that the baby's head pushes on that bulb pushes on your cervix, and then therefore helps you dilate. So I had that put in. When they put it in, I wasn't dilated at all. So basically she forced it in, and it was very painful. I did use my hypnobabies to get through that pain, and when I was done, they were amazed that I didn't scream or move or do anything. They said most women have to have an epidural in order to have that done. So I don't know, it was very painful though, but I did use my hypnobabies to kind of get through that. After they put that in, I had really bad pain. It hurt really bad, and then the contractions started. So I had contractions, and then I had this ongoing pain from the Foley bulb. So it was rough, but I got through it with my hypnobabies. I was doing my tracks, and it was going well. So I did that. That was in for a really long time. And finally, and it'll come out on its own when you're about 4 centimeters. So finally it came out like the next day or something, I don't remember. And I was 4 centimeters, so I was like, okay. So then as my cervix dilated, my contractions got slower or got further apart. So we decided to do Pitocin and start off with a low dose. So we started the Pitocin, and every 20 minutes she would come and up it, you know, higher dose. So finally I started having more contractions. They checked me, I was still at a 4, so they decided to break my water. So they broke my water, and then things really got real again. More contractions, one on top of the other. So I went all the way up to on my Pitocin to the highest level, and my water was broken. Bear, quit. Bear. The dog is driving me nuts. So I went to my highest level Pitocin, and my water was broken. So I was having contractions back to back to back to back. So I was working on getting through those with the hypnobabies. It was working really well. They ended up, I only gained 10 pounds with this pregnancy, and my stomach never got really big and hard. So they had a really hard time monitoring. I had to be monitored continuously, of course, because I was on the Pitocin. They could never get the monitor to stay. So anytime I wanted to move positions, they would have to come in, the monitor would lose track of the baby, they had to hold it on there, so it was just a pain in the butt. So that sucked. So then they decided they couldn't tell how many contractions I was having, even though I knew I was having them. So they did an internal monitor for contractions. So they did that, put that thing in. So that freaking sucked as well. So then as the contractions, like I would have like a really strong contraction, and then it would kind of go away, but it never went all the way away. So I just had constant contractions. So I was using my hypnobabies, and I was starting to get a little panicked because it hurt really bad, and I didn't know how long it was going to last, all this stuff. And so they checked me. I was still at a 4. So I was having some high blood pressures, which I wasn't aware of. I knew I was having a couple, but I had some that were really, 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 really high. So they had to put me on magnesium sulfate, which means that you can't leave the bed. So I labored like that for a really long time, just sitting straight up in the bed, not able to move, not able to get into a comfortable position, using my hypnobabies. It was a lot. So finally, I asked if I could have something for some of the pain, just to take the edge off. So she gave me a shot of something, and it literally took away the pain a little bit, of like 2 or 3 contractions. And other than that, it made me loopy and high and sleepy, but in pain still. So while I was on that shot, I told my husband, I was like, I can't do it. And he was like, you can, you're doing great. And I was like, no, if I'm not able to leave this bed, if I'm going to be in pain, I want an epidural. And I had told him before that if I ask for an epidural, don't let me get it. And I was high on this medicine when I said I wanted the epidural. So he was like, I don't know what to do. So I said, no, really. I said, if I'm stuck in this bed, I said, the whole reason I didn't want an epidural was so that I could get up, move around, labor in any position that I wanted to. I said, I'm hooked up to 2 different monitors. I can't move, and I'm not allowed to leave the bed. So I refused to be in pain constantly without being able to do anything to help it. So anyway, they ordered the epidural, and before I had said I wanted the epidural, I had labored again for a really long time, and I said, okay, check me again, because I feel like things are happening. Still at a 4. So I never progressed past 4 centimeters. So I had the epidural. So I went in on Monday night. I had my epidural on Wednesday night. So I was in labor for freaking ever. I'm very proud of myself for making it that long with the contractions and on back to back and on the Pitocin and everything. So they came in, did the epidural. I was able to sleep a tiny bit. I hadn't slept at all the whole time. I had not slept. So I was able to sleep a tiny bit. And then middle of the night, Wednesday night, I started to feel some pressure. So I told the doctor, or the nurse, I said, I'm feeling some pressure. So she checked me, and I was at a 7, and I was like, okay. So then a little bit later, I was feeling more pressure, and so she checked me again, and she was newer to labor and delivery, and so she checked me, but then she said she was gonna have someone else check too, just to make sure that she was checking, or that she was right about how far dilated I was. So she checked me, and she's like, I think you're at an 8, and I was like, oh, okay. So then another lady came in and checked me, and she's like, oh no, she's at a 10, and she's fully effaced, and that is a head right there. So the baby's head had moved down, and they could feel it. So they said, okay, let's do some practice pushes. So I had heard that it had taken people with an epidural hours to push their baby out. So I was like, oh, here we go, So I get up in the position on my back, which I didn't want, but I couldn't do anything because I couldn't move my legs. So feet up in the stirrups, husband holding one leg, nurse holding the other leg, the other nurse down watching. So I did the first practice push, and I pretty much sucked at it. And so they're like, okay, you have to do a little bit better than that. So second push, they're like, oh my God, they're like, you're doing awesome. And the baby was crowning already. So they had to call in the doctor. So we had to wait for everybody to get in there. And I had tons of pediatricians in there. I had, just because they thought something was going to be wrong with the baby. So I had all these people. So I ended up having 15 people in my room while I was delivering this baby. And so the doctors come in, the attending wasn't there yet, so there was like a guy and a girl. I guess they were residents. I have no idea who they were. And so I did a push, and they said, okay, we have to wait, you gotta wait for the attending, blah, blah, not everybody's here. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I'm just sitting there, and my nurse goes, you're having a contraction right now, and she said push. So I was like, all right, I'll do what she says, because she's been with me this whole time. So I just pushed, and the baby just came out. So they were all like, so they put her up on my chest, and well, first of all, they held her up because we didn't know what we were having. We had a girl. So they held her up, and I was like, oh my God, it's a girl, So they put her on me, and I got to hold her the whole time. They checked her oxygen, and they checked everything out, and did all their checking on that. And then I did have some heavy bleeding afterwards, and it took a long time for my placenta to be delivered. So there was a lot of waiting for that, and I didn't really know what's going on, and they gave me some medicine to stop the bleeding. And this is way TMI, but I did hear like a big like gush onto the floor, and that was just all the blood that I was losing. So that was really gross. What else? So yeah, she's making noise. So we had her on the Thursday, June 5th at 4:45 a.m. And they said she was only going to be like 4 pounds, but she ended up being 5 pounds, 2 ounces. Bear, stop it. Go lay down. So she ended up being 5 pounds, 2 ounces, 19 and a half inches long, and absolutely nothing's wrong with her. Her heart's fine. They had mentioned her having Down syndrome. She doesn't have Downs. I just feel like when you're with a high-risk team, they just they try to scare the shit out of you. So everything was absolutely perfect with her. This is what's been going on the last month. She had jaundice, and we had to use the Billy lights at the hospital. And then when we got out, we had to go back to the hospital for 2 nights and use the Billy lights again. So that really sucked. I've been struggling with breastfeeding. Since she is so small, she is a slow eater, lazy eater. She's doing better now, but I just had a really hard time breastfeeding. They wanted me to supplement with formula, and I ended up getting some donor milk from some people I know. So I was able to supplement with breast milk, and of course I am not producing hardly any milk at all. So I have been pumping every 2 to 3 hours, and I've been getting anywhere from half an ounce to like 3/4 of an ounce every time I pump. So that's disappointing that I'm not getting very much milk. So anyway, she's getting my milk, she's getting some donor milk, and she's getting this organic formula that I ordered from Europe. It's far superior to any formulas here in the US. So if anybody wants to know what that is, I will let you know. But I did order that, so she's getting kind of a mixture of all three whenever I supplement her. And I also have not really been breastfeeding that much, every once in a while. But like I said, she isn't, for some reason, not getting the milk like she needs to. And she gets pissed, and then it just turns into this big, huge ordeal. So I have been breastfeeding her, I don't know, once a day maybe. But most of the time she's getting the bottle and I'm pumping, which I'm absolutely fine with. I had to come to terms with it. And I have thyroid issues, and I just ordered some new supplements, so hopefully that'll help. But I go back to work in 2 weeks, so that really sucks. And I'm going to be pumping the whole time at work, and I definitely want to pump more than 5 ounces a day for her. I want to be able to pump all of it. So hopefully my supply goes up. I ordered these new supplements, so hopefully they work. So other than that, breastfeeding's a struggle. That first week was a really big struggle. The first 2 weeks, I just like cried all the time. It's just a huge adjustment, which I knew it was going to be, but it was a big adjustment. So now I'm just going to be enjoying my last 2 weeks with her and hopefully getting the rest of my videos up. I have tons of videos that I need to post, but haven't had time to edit them. But anyway, I wanted to let you know that she is here and she's absolutely beautiful. And I will insert some pictures from her newborn session at the end of the video. So anyway, thanks guys for watching, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, bye.